Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Sweet Nightmares, the podcast by Tracy Wolf. So, we're going to be doing chapters 2 and 3 next. Well, if you guys have been listening to me, I am a new podcaster. I am pretty much just doing this to buy some time for myself, get myself into, something. I appreciate you guys listening to my first episode, and here comes the second one. Please share this with your friends and family. I want to try to make it on one of the top charts, which is going to be a while, but you know what? I got all the time in the world. Chapter 2, At Your Beck and Calder. Keep your hand on the door, Lewis urges as he leaned over my shoulder to micromanage, something he tries to do in so many areas of my life. I'm planning on it, I answer, wrapping one hand around the handle and bracing for the second one directly above it so I can push the door shut as soon as the Trinkler's paw slips free. I pull what I'm hoping is hard enough, and the second the paw slips back through the opening, I throw all my weight behind the door and slam it shut as hard as I can. By some miracle, I actually managed not to create a new disaster. A chorus of outraged yowls arises from the enclosure, but nothing escapes. I'm safe. At least until next time. Exhausted now that the last burst of adrenaline has left my body, I lean back against the door, slide down until my butt hits the floor, and then breathe. Just breathe. Lewis sinks down next to me, nodding to the first aid kit he's dropped a few feet away. He's taken to bringing it down here for me every day that I have Trinkler duty, and unfortunately, I've really not needed it. We might want to get started patching you up. The bell's going to ring in a few minutes. I groan. I thought I was getting faster at this. There's no faster than there's fast, he says with a rueful grin. You really don't have to make sure every single one of the little monster's bowls is filled with perfectly ice-cold water. Room temp will suffice. It's September in Texas. Cold water is a necessity. And what thanks do you get for your concern? His black hair flops over his left eye as he looks at the shredded sleeve on my t-shirt and the deep scratches below. It's my turn to roll my eyes as I reach for the first aid kit. The headmaster stays off my back? I'm sure your mother would understand you giving them room temperature water if it means saving you copious amounts of blood loss. She is the one who insists on boarding these damn things, after all. His eyes, the large Band-Aid I've extracted from the kit as we've been talking. Want help with that? Maybe, I answer grudgingly. Just do the one on my back, okay? And I think the whole point of the Trinkler duty is that it's a punishment. So I'm not sure my mother has my feelings on top of her list. He snorts in acknowledgement of his truth as he drags the collar of my red uniform shirt down just enough so that he could slap the bandage on the scratch and still bleeding shoulder. But it's not like you've got yourself sent to this school for some nefarious deed or big bad behavior like the rest of us. And yet, here I am. The joys of being a Cadler. Yeah, well, Cadler or not, you gotta lay off the Trinkler duty, or I don't think you'll actually make it to graduation. Oh, I'm making it to graduation, I tell him as I slap a few more bandages. If for no reason that I can finally get the hell off this island. I've been counting down the days since freshman year. Now that I'm finally a senior, I'm not about to let anything stand in the way of me getting out of this hellhole that actually started a life somewhere. Somewhere where I don't have to watch my back and every other part of myself, every second of every day. One more year, Lewis says as he holds out a hand for the first aid kit. Then we're both out of here. More like 261 days. I shove the box of bandages back in the first aid kit and hand it to him. Then I push to my feet, ignoring all the places that hurt. As we start down the depressingly dank hallways, the light bulb starts to sway and sizzle in completely still corridor. "What the hell is that?" asked Lewis. "A strong suggestion that we get a move on," I answer, because lingering in the Calder Academy basement/dungeon is never a good idea. But before we could take more steps than a few steps, the bulb makes a popping sound. Seconds later, a bunch of sparks explode out of it, right before the hallway is plunged into darkness. "Well, this certainly isn't eerie at all," Lewis deadpans, coming to a complete stop to peer hesitantly into the black. "You can't honestly be afraid of the dark, can you?" I can't resist groaning him as I pull out my phone out of my pocket. "Of course not. I am a wolf, you know. I do have night vision." "Doesn't make you less of a chicken," I tease. I swipe my thumb across the flashlight app on my phone and shine the light straight down the hallway. After all, the Trinklers aren't the only monsters down here, just the smallest and the nicest. As on cue, the door directly in front of Lewis shakes violently on its hinges. We don't need any additional motivation. We both take off running, the beam of the phone flashlight bouncing along with my strides. As I look behind me to make sure that nothing is following us, the beam catches what looks like a hulking shadow in the adjacent corridor. I swing the light in its direction, but nothing's there. My stomach clenches because I know I saw something. Then a loud thump comes from across the room on the left, followed by a clatter of chains and a high-pitched, animalistic screech that doesn't even muffle at all by the thick wooden door between us. Lewis picks up the pace, and I join him as we pass several more doors before the one in front of us starts to vibrate so violently that I'm afraid it could shake off its hinges at any second. I ignore it, forcing myself to stay calm. One more turn, a mad dash, and we'll be at the staircase, home free. Apparently, I'm not running fast enough for Lewis because he grabs my hand and pulls me along with him as a loud, ferocious shriek follows us around the corner. "Move, Clementine!" he shouts, throwing me into the stairwell in front of him. We pound up the stairs and burst through the double doors at the top just as the warning bell rings. And that is chapter 2. Now chapter 3. Another one bites the pixie dust. You have the power to defeat the monsters inside you. A soothing voice over the intercom, the affirmation that doubles as the bell fills the hallway as Lewis and I pause to catch our breaths. "No offense, but your Aunt Claudia and her daily affirmations," he gasps out. "But I don't think it's the monsters inside of us we've got to be worried about." "No shit," I agree, even as I fire off a text to Uncle Carter to let him know that he needs to double check the locks on the monsters' enclosures. My Uncle Carter is in charge of the basement menagerie. Back in the day, Calder Academy Island started out as a sanatorium where the rich paranormals would ship off family members to convalesce. But the rumor has it that the basement was actually reserved for the criminally insane, which explains the giant 80-pound door on each of the cells. Not great for humans. The setup comes in handy when you need to keep creatures from wreaking total and complete havoc. Remind me again why your mother thinks it's a good idea to board some of the most fucked up monsters in existence, Lewis asks, as he finishes tucking in his red polo shirt into the black uniform shorts. Apparently, the school needs the money to keep the students in style to which they've become accustomed, I quoted. We take a moment to admire that supposed style before we were forced to duck as the loose ceiling tile falls to the floor. After the sanatorium closed, it didn't take much work to convert the ornate Victorian building into a luxury hotel for paranormals, which occupied the island until my family bought it about 80 years ago. The buildings themselves were commissioned back in the day, when they built beautiful buildings for architecture's sake, even if those buildings were part of a hospital. The remnants of that bygone era still peek through the years, wear and tear, like the carved marble staircase now worn with steps and age. The large arch turrets, the bay windows, or the intricate brickwork that adorns the entrance to the admin building where we have most of our classes. But all of that potential charm has been overwhelmed by the institutional green paint that has been slathered on every wall and the drop ceilings that are surely covering up some pretty cool moldings. Louis snickers and shakes his head as my phone buzzes with a text from my roommate. Eva. Eva, where are you? I can't be late to anger management. Danson's a dick. If he gives me shit again, I swear I'm gonna totally throat punch him. I fire off a quick reply, letting her know I'm on my way. You okay? Louis checks as we walk quickly to attempt to avoid getting yelled at by the hall trolls. Thanks to you, I am, I answer, giving him a quick hug before I push the doors open to the girls' bathroom in the center of the hall. Love you, Louis. He brushes off my moment of tenderness with a snarky, you'd better, and before the doors close behind me. Damn, Clementine, you're supposed to feed the trinklers, not be their feed, Eva tells me as she strains from where she's leaning against one of the old-fashioned bucket sinks. I snap my fingers. I knew I was doing something wrong. I brought you coffee. Her long black curls bounce as she leans towards to hand me a turquoise and pink string backpack. Joy floods me as I see 2 Go cups. From what I know, it's Eve's famous cafe con leche, a recipe from her Puerto Rican family that includes just a pinch of special spice blend. It's practically legendary among the seniors. I reach out a greedy hand for it. Gimme. She nods into the backpack. Time is ticking. Change first, coffee later. I groan, but I'm already ripping off my shirt and tossing it into the trash can. I pull out a fresh polo she's brought me, and after a quick glance at the mirror, I add the red hoodie, and she's packed on top of it. Even though it's over 1,000,000 degrees and pure humidity outside, it's still better than walking around for the rest of the day looking like open season has just been declared on my ass. Even the smallest sign of weakness tends to bring out the predator in the other students. Despite the fact that every student's powers are locked down, they still have fists and teeth and are more than happy to use them. 30 seconds later, I've got my face wash, my hair pulled into a ponytail, and a long sip of the cafe con leche in my belly. You ready? Eva asks, her concerned brown eyes doing a final sweep from me from head to toe. As I'll ever be, I answer, holding the coffee cup in silent thanks as we head back to the hall. A quick glance at my phone shows a text from Uncle Carter saying that he's on his way to check the basement. I wave goodbye to Eva before taking off down the hall towards my British Lit class. A small pack of leopard shifters is loitering in the hall near the doors of the science lab. One eyes me like I'm his post-lunch snack as a glimmer of ivory fang flashes me. The girl next to him senses his excitement and starts prowling towards me. I keep my eyes averted. The last thing I need right now is a dominance challenge. That's when I see a freshman. I think she's a witch. Look directly at me and the shifters. Bad move, kid. They immediately smelt chum in the water and turn their sights on her. If you want to survive here, direct eye contact is usually not the way to do it. I pause, unsure of what to do next, when the girl suddenly lets out an ear-piercing scream that rings out through the hallway. It reverberates on every hard surface as it makes its way to my protesting eardrums. Not a witch. A banshee, I mentally noted, as the leopards scattered to class. Saved by a scream. I quickly walk to my locker. I grab my backpack and slip through the door into my seat about 1 second before the final affirmation sounds. I am stronger than all the problems and challenges I encounter. I just have to believe in myself. A groan goes up at the class even before Miss Aguilar chirps. And there's the bell. Let's dig deep today, shall we? In a voice that is way more bubbly than the affirmation bell or the school's warrants. Then again, everything about Miss Aguilar is too bright and shiny for Calder Academy. From her electric yellow hair and her bright blue eyes to her manic smile and frighteningly upbeat attitude, everything shouts at that Pixie doesn't belong here. And if that wasn't enough, the snickers come from the assholes Faye currently taking up the last row warn that they're about to make sure she and everyone else in this classroom knows it. Fuck, Teach. Did you snort too much pixie dust during lunch? Jean-Luc calls, swishing his deliberately messy blonde hair out of his eyes. And you sure didn't bring us any. His friend, the henchman, Jean-Claude sneers. As he laughs, his green eyes glow in an unnatural electricity common to be dark magic Fae. Don't you know, sharing is caring? The fact that the two of them, as well as the other two members of the little coterie of immaturity and evil, Jean-Paul and Jean-Jacques, starts cackling, tells everyone in the room that they got something planned. Sure enough, the second she turns her back to write on the board, Jean-Jacques sends a handful of Skittles soaring straight towards her. I swear these guys couldn't get more annoying if they tried. Miss Aguilar stiffens as the Skittles hit her, but instead of reprimanding the obnoxious Fae, she ignores them and keeps writing on the board. Her silence just eggs them on, and they throw another whole round of Skittles at her. But this time, they sucked on them first, so that when they hit her white blouse, they leave a rainbow streak of goo. That didn't even count the ones that got caught in her spiky hair. When she continues facing the board, in what I'm pretty sure is an effort to hide tears, Jean-Luc flashes to the front of the room. Fae are still preternaturally fast, which without their powers and stands right in front of her, making crude faces and flipping her off. Most of the class burst out laughing, though some looked down uncomfortably. Miss Aguilar whirls around, but Jean-Luc is back in his seat by this point, smiling innocently and leaning on an elbow. Before she could figure out what happened, yet another handful of Skittles flies at her. Most hit her in the chest, but a couple strike her right between the eyes. She squeaks a little, her chest heaving, still doesn't say a word. I don't know if it's because she's a new teacher and has no classroom management skills, or if she's just afraid of shutting down the Gene Jerks because they come from some of the most powerful and dangerous mafia families in the paranormal world. Then again, it's probably both. As spitballs soar towards her, I start to speak up a little, as I usually do, but stop myself. If she doesn't learn to stand up for herself fast, the school's gonna eat her alive. I already saved Miss Aguilar's butt 3 times this week, and have the bruises to prove it. After all, you don't come across members of the Fae Court with the darkest magic in existence and not expect to get shit kicked out of you. Plus, I'm still shaky from all the trinklers I spent the last hour fighting off. I'm not sure I have it in me to take on a whole different group of monsters after class. She doesn't say anything, though. Instead, she just turns back around and starts writing something in a flowery script on the board again. It's the absolute worst thing she could do because the Gene Jerks and a few other less than enterprising souls take it as a sign that it's really open season. New rounds of spitballs soars at her, getting caught in the tips of her pointy hair. More Skittles are launched at her ass. And Jean-Claude, jackass that he is, decides now is the time to shout a bunch of suggestive comments. That is it. That's just it. Fuck the pain. That's one thing the Gene Jerks were just being their regular asshole selves. But they crossed the line. No one, even the sons of the Fae Mafia Dons, get to sexually harass a woman and get away with it. Screw that. I cleared my throat, resigning myself to another beatdown by the Gene Jerks after class. But before I could figure out an insult devastating enough to shut their mouths, a rustling sound comes from the left of me. It's quiet. So quiet that most people in the class don't even register it. But I heard the slow, deliberate rhythm of that slid from the stillness to action before. And though it's been a while, it still makes every hair on my body stand straight up, even as an unwhittling relief seeps through me. Apparently, I'm not the only one in this class who thinks their foray into sexual harassment is worse than their usual bad behavior and has to be stopped. I shift slightly to my left, just in time to see all 6'7" gorgeous, grim-faced, broad-shoulders inch of Jude, Abernathy Lee, turned around in his seat. For 1 second, my eyes clash with his swirling, mismatched gaze, but then he's looking straight through me to the members of the Jean Jerk Club. I wait for him to say something to the Fae, but it turns out he doesn't have to. One look from him has their word, laughter, and crumbling like dust around us. For several seconds, silence, long taunts, jagged edge silence hangs in the air as the whole class holds its breath and waits to see what happens next, because the Jean Jerk's unstoppably assholery is about to meet Jude's immovable everything. Alright, so that is done of the reading of Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 of Sweet Nightmare by Tracy Wolff. So, this is the part where if you guys just want to listen to the next chapters of the book, you could just skip ahead from here and go to the next episode, because this is now where I start to state my own opinions, who really cares about my opinions, but if you want to know, stick around. Who knows? Maybe you might get a laugh or two. You know, I'm hoping in the future I might get some guests on the show. You know, we'll see how it turns out. Maybe we could collab with other people. We'll see if anyone really likes this podcast. But at the same time, I'm doing this for myself. Just because, like I said, I'm pretty sure I said in the first episode, I need something, to do for myself. And I want a new hobby in order to get into. But anyways, back to chapter 2 and 3. My opinions on it. Still not too much to go based off. Other than it's interesting to figure out that the school's in an island in Texas or just in Texas. Because a lot of like these supernatural books I've read, they always base it off in like in a tundra, like where there's nowhere, like Alaska, not too much human interactions there. But Texas, there's quite a good amount of humans there. So it was actually kind of quite surprising to figure out that's where the school is based in. So other than Clementine running with her friend, we meet Eva, which is Clementine's roommate. There's not too much to her, but she seems pretty all right. And it states that in the book that the students' powers are on lockdown. So based from what I've read, this is a school for delinquents that come when they don't have any other choices for school. So they shut down all their powers, I guess lock it up. I don't know if the headmistress has some type of big cauldron filled with people's powers or lockbox or something. Well, who knows? Who knows how they're locking up the powers? Maybe it'll stay in the future of the book. Anyways. Other than those assholes, the Jean Jerks, I'm hoping I'm saying it right, or if it's supposed to be kind of French, like the Jean Jerks, I don't know, but I'm just going to go with my interpretation of this book. So for the future, like, yes, my goal is to be on like one of the, when you search up, book podcasts, I want like my podcast to be one of the first ones to pop up, or at least on the first page, but that's going to be a very long time. So that's going to be a long-term goal. But a short-term goal, I want to be able to keep doing this, and with, like some donations that I'm hoping to receive in the future, buy a little microphone from Amazon. That will be my goal. Start off small, because I think that would be really good. Also, another goal would be just to get 10 people to even listen to me, because it would be amazing. Just, getting 10 people to listen to my random nonsense as I talk. Or if they just want to hear my annoying voice read, yeah, that works too. But it would honestly be amazing. Like, to be honest, I would go buy myself a cake if I could just get 10 people to listen to my podcast. Well, one day. One day. Anyways, I like to say that I am going to be starting a YouTube channel, which I will link into this when I figure it out how. And that YouTube channel will pretty much be similar. You'll find my podcast on there when I figure that out. Also, I'll be making more so YouTube shorts, have some different type of polls of the books or what type of books or, the chapters in the books. And then I'm also going to start a Patreon very soon. So when it's done, you guys can donate anything you can. And with that, it would go towards, any new gear. Or also, I would love, and I mean absolutely love it, if I could do a contest. If I had enough people listening, in order for me to have a contest, that would be amazing. Like, you have no idea how amazing that would be. And especially, it would be so fun. I get to create something for the contest winner. But you know what? That is maybe far away. We'll figure it out. Anyways, if my voice seems a little scratchy during this episode, it's because it is. I am trying my best not to strain it, but life happens. Anyways, all I have left to say is thank you for listening to me. Please join us into the next episode. And yeah, please tell your friends and family. For anyone who does donate on the new Patreon that I'm going to create when I start listing it down below, I'll give you guys a shout out in every single episode I do. And yeah, I guess toodaloo. Bye.